You know, I wish you could just say that 4 cars would be enough, but in my experience, it isn't. You can't have too many. A different car for 365 days out of the year, I'd be pretty happy.
All right, let's get heavy here. Paul Walker is pretty much the James Dean of our generation. He entered our lives and our hearts when he starred in the definitive auto enthusiast movie of the early aughts, The Fast and Furious. Sure, it was cheesy, and sure, it was over the top, but it spoke to us and featured cars and car culture that instantly captured our tuning spirit. And he wasn't just Brian O'Connor, undercover cop taking down the street racers. He was really a stand-up dude in his personal life. A philanthropist and a loving father, Paul lives in the hearts of millions. And now his automotive passion will live on in the lucky hands of a select few. That's right, you may have heard the news. 6 years after his untimely death, his massive collection of automotive treasures just got auctioned off at Barrett-Jackson. The collection spanned 21 cars, trucks, and motorcycles that he had driven, modified, and owned. And the collection is as diverse and interesting as the man himself. So, what was on the block and how much was it all worth? You're about to find out. It's great to see you guys again. Let's go. His appearance in Fast and Furious was no fluke. Paul Walker was a true driving enthusiast. He did a lot of his own stunt work behind the wheel, and even poured over the scripts of the Fast and Furious series to make sure that they were at least somewhat authentic. He was also humble, and even with all of his success, he never opted for a collection of Ferraris or exotics, but rather for modest sports cars that were just a ball of fun to drive. So then, what says modesty and true driving experience better than an M3? Well, what about 7 M3s? That's right, the largest portion of Paul's collection consists of not only one of the greatest driver's cars of all time, but also the greatest examples of them. Up for auction from his collection were 2 pristine examples of the E30 M3, aka God's Chariot. One, a 1988 M3 coated in Alpine white paint. This Bavarian beauty had 32,000 miles on the clock and sold for an astounding $165,000. And another, a later 1991 M3 in the same Alpine white paint and an insanely low 7,600 miles. This E30 M3 was practically brand new and sold for an insane $220,000. But Paul's penchant for the ultimate driving machine didn't stop there. His true love? The E36 M3. And not just any E36 M3, the uber rare LTW edition. The LTW stood for lightweight, with these models coming in a full 220 pounds lighter than the normal M3. Of the roughly 126 LTWs ever made, Paul had 5 of them in his stable, all in that beautiful white, all in perfect condition, and all pure German driving bliss. This part of the collection sold for a grand total of $1.2 million combined. They sold from a range of $220,000 to $385,000. Prices seem to basically reflect the mileage of the cars, with the most expensive only having 4,600 miles. Want to learn more about the LTW and Paul's collection of them? Check out this video we made diving a little deeper into the car that captured his heart. It's a doozy, and it's lightweight. When you think of Paul Walker, you probably think of that bright orange 10-second Mark IV Supra, or maybe that lime green DSM. So you wouldn't be surprised to hear that he had some Japanese icons in his fleet. But what you may not know about Paul is he had quite the sweet tooth for a classic American muscle, or more precisely, classic Chevrolets. 3 of his Chevy project cars were listed at the auction. A 1963 Nova wagon with a torn up seat and faded paint went for $18,700. And it was purchased by fellow YouTubers Farm Truck and A-Zen. And a 1964 Chevelle wagon in slightly better shape sold for $19,800. Both were unfinished project cars that Paul and his business partner Roger Rodas were working on before his fatal accident. Paul also had this beautiful 1967 Chevy Nova Custom Coupe built by year one. This thing was powered by a GM 5.3 liter V8 and dressed in slate gray, and it's immaculate. So the price reflects that, coming in as the most valuable 60s Chevy at $60,500. And now it's time for the ideal question of the day. Paul Walker is a major influence on me. His positive and humble energy in the automotive community is something we should all strive for. Has he influenced you? Has he gotten you into cars? Let us know down in the comments. I can't wait to read all of your guys' comments. Let's go. Okay, not every piece of Paul Walker's collection was a rare or interesting sports car icon. The collection contains a number of fairly pedestrian offerings as well, such as a trio of trucks that include a 2003 Ford F-250, which went for $19,800, a 2004 GMC Sierra sold for $33 grand, and a 2006 Toyota Tundra pickup bought for an unknown price. The standout four-wheeler here is the black and tan 1995 Ford Bronco Eddie Bauer edition. It was in perfect condition with relatively low miles and still even had the car phone in it. That beast was let go for $73,700 at auction. Paul didn't just like going fast on four wheels. He also had an affinity for motorcycles. A ride for any occasion, Paul's collection included a 2005 Harley-Davidson Custom built by Road Dogg Customs. I gotta admit, I'm not really a motorcycle guy myself, but that Harley looks rad. Like something Captain America would ride in World War II. And it rode off into the sunset for $34,100. Other two-wheeled rides for sale were a 2011 BMW F800 GS, which sold for $11K, and a 2008 Suzuki DRZ 400 SM for when he wanted to do a little urban assault. And that rip-roaring Suzuki only sold for $3,800. What's your favorite piece of Paul Walker's collection so far? Let us know down below. Okay, let's get back to the fun stuff. Okay, the rest of the collection is by far the most diverse and most interesting. First, you have the unassuming but ideal media fan favorite black on black Audi B5 S4 that seemed like just a daily driver for Paul, driven off the block for just shy of 30 stacks, which is crazy considering that thing hadn't had any documented engine work. Crazy. And then the very unassuming, not street legal, fully built 2013 Ford Mustang Boss 302 race car. That was a gift to Paul from a friend right before his passing, and he'd never been able to race it, so it was pristine. The 302 race car is a 400 plus horsepower, 6-speed, ready to race American muscle track beast. It would have been legendary to see Paul race this in a series like the IMSA, and it might still race since it was purchased for $95,700 at the auction. Next up is Paul's co-star in Fast 5. The 2009 Nissan 370Z from the movie was clearly one of his favorites. The only one important enough to feature the name of his foundation, Reach Out Worldwide, on its tasteful livery design. Volk TE37s, hand-cooked tires, Recaro seats, OS Geiken clutch. This is a mean-looking Z, and now officially the most expensive Z sold at auction for $105,000 dues.
I think I'm in love.
And now, the piece de resistance, a tuning car icon, the Godzilla. An RB26 powered, a Tesla all-wheel drive, 332 horsepower track-bred Skyline R32, fitting of Walker's love for driving. This was a track car through and through. Sitting on Enkei RPF1s hiding a set of endless brake calipers, his R32 was beautifully and tastefully modded with only racing in mind. The interior was just a bucket seat, a cage, and a fire extinguisher. And this apex shredding kaiju sold for a whopping $100,000. Well, that's it. 21 cars, trucks, and motorcycles. All told, the collection fetched a total of $2.3 million, which will go to benefit Paul Walker's foundation, Reach Out Worldwide, which, if you haven't heard of, is a fantastic organization that focuses on first response to major natural disasters. And right now they're helping with the devastating Australian wildfires and could use your help. So we put a link down in the description, and if you want to click it and support, that would be great. And we're not done yet, because if you want to learn more about those hyper rare LTWs Paul owned, click over here. Or if you trust YouTube to make your decisions, click over here on the left. Oh, if you haven't yet, subscribe and smash the like button to help the YouTube algorithm. But either way, you can't lose. And as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.